Hi, everyone. My name is Whitney, and I'm a senior and a student worker at the University of Oregon Career Center. As a soon to be graduate, I understand there's a lot of pressure in our first career opportunity, and it can be really nerve wracking. Something that I find that's really helpful is doing informational interviews. So, Marcus has graciously offered his time to tell us a little bit more about City Year and his career path. So, without any further ado, welcome. Hi, Marcus. Could
Hey,
tell us a little bit.
Whitney.
Hi. Could you tell us a little? Could you tell us a little bit about, your industry and how you kind of got to your position?
Sure. So, yeah, my organization is called City Year. It's an education social justice organization, bringing together young people to do a year of full-time national service. Student success coaches working with students in schools across the country, supporting them on English and math, being a social and emotional support, tutor, mentor, role model, etc. So we're kind of under the nonprofit industry, if you want to categorize it as that. In terms of my role, I'm a regional recruitment manager for City Year. So I'm kind of covering recruitment within the Pacific Northwest. So University of Oregon is one of the schools I recruit from actually. But I also support students who are applying from Washington State, Oregon, Idaho, kind of the whole that three-state trifecta. So trying to get the word about the opportunities, supporting students as they kind of apply, but also kind of like working with um, these different colleges and universities in those different areas to kind of like get the word out about City Year as well. So
Well, so how did you end up in, your position? Did you, go to school
yeah.
here locally or,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, so actually I went to the University of Washington. I'm Husky.
Go
Graduated in
Husky.
2012.
That's
Sorry,
awesome.
Ducks. But yeah, so I graduated in 2012 and I double majored in kind of a weird combo, but economics and art history. But a lot of my involvement was around like education, tutoring, mentoring, and that kind of thing. So pretty much from my sophomore year, I was mentoring students, helping them to apply to college, tutoring students as well. So I was also passionate about like that too. But yeah, I just realized through those opportunities I really loved like working with kids, working in education. And so that was kind of my first, I guess, like step into, educational organizations, social justice organizations, etc. So after I graduated, I ended up doing AmeriCorps. So I didn't serve in senior myself. I did do another AmeriCorps program. It was also actually a program I was involved in when I was a student, but it was called the Pipeline Project. And so it's based out of the University of Washington. But essentially, it's a service learning organization. And so we partner with the public schools, a lot of other local community-based organizations to essentially provide opportunities for Univ students to serve as like tutors, academic supports in like our community, as well as other statewide projects that we kind of supported as well throughout the year. So that was kind of that was kind of like my first like professional opportunity, I like to say. But from that, I realized how much I love, again, working in education, working with students, working with like within like a social justice cause as well. Um, and then after that, I kind of went back into my passion in like arts, and so I ended up working with the Seattle Art Museum for 4 years. But it was also kind of an education like focus too, because a lot of my work was about programming, community partnerships, community outreach, and that kind of thing. Um, so I did that for 4 years, and kind of made my way to City Year. And kind of a funny story because I didn't serve in City Year myself, like I mentioned, but I did apply to it when I was a senior. So it wasn't option I was considering back in the day, but ended up taking this like other opportunity with AmeriCorps. So I've known about it since then, have loved the work since I was in college. And so I knew that I wanted to get back into education, explore like other aspects of it. So that's kind of how I ended up here. So I've been with the organization for about like a year now. Um, but definitely, honestly, I never realized, well, one, I will say I never thought in my career that I would ever be a recruiter. So it's kind of wild that I'm kind of in this position now. But I think for me, a lot of like how I see my role is really centered in a lot of like the opportunities and experiences that really I did beforehand, like a lot of like community centered work, community building work, community outreach, community partnership work. And so that's really how and connecting people to opportunities too. I think that's a lot of how I kind of approach my work now that I'm a recruiter with City Year.
Yeah,
So
that's cool. Kind of make professional connections for the whole entire region, and your
yeah,
transition seems really, natural. Like, I can see that you're very
yeah.
passionate about teaching and, kind
Hmm.
of being that in between, in a
Hmm.
sense, between the community and I love that it's arts. Like, Man, there's
Yes.
something about people who work in museums, like art museums, that they're just, like, kinda calm, but, like, also, like but, like, they have this weird essence of being grounded, but kind of, like, up and, like, in space at the same time. It's
I
like,
feel that, yeah.
yeah,
That's
which
kind
is
of
so
me
great.
summarized, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so what's unique about your industry and your organization?
Yeah, I mean, something that's really unique about City Year, I think one, it is like a gap year opportunity. So it's something you would do after you complete high school or after you graduate from undergrad, just because there is an age cap to do the program. So you do need to be between the ages of 18 to 25 to serve with City Year. So there is kind of a, if you want to do it, you want to do it like now, basically, when you graduate. So I think we'll have a lot of that, like because of that, like young, fresh, like energy and idealism, as we call it. I think there's a lot of like passion, a lot of fresh perspective that people coming to the program bring, and you definitely feel that energy in the program serving as a city or AmeriCorps member. Um, like I think what I love most about the organization is just the people and how passionate they are, and it's super interesting too because even though we are education focused, like I think a lot of folks of course, want to get into education, but there's also a lot of folks who want to get into like law or want to get into medicine or want to get into social work. So I think they're kind of like, um, using this as an opportunity to give back, but also build skills, but also kind of explore, what some of their interests might be, just because it's kind of a unique time and opportunity to be able to do that, kind of in that
Mhm,
transitional period where you kind of like are trying to figure out like what you want to do and kind of what type of impact you want to make
mhm.
um, in the world. So.
Yeah. Yeah, what a great opportunity for you and the students. I mean, to be able to influence and teach and mentor these young, professionals, and also
Mhm.
for them to have a safe place to grow and explore those passions.
Exactly.
I also think it's really interesting about the age gap because I don't. What age group do city year employees usually work with?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So the age range is between third to 10th grade. And so the reason why we do also have that age cap is because we do use like a near peer tutoring mentoring like model too for our approach. And so because the core members are all like young people, like I think because of that, they're able to build like strong relationships with their kids and just be positive like mentors and role models, like having gone through experience like pretty like in a pretty like not too far of a time frame as they're kind of going through it as well. So they're able to relate with them, they're able to build strong relationships with them as well. So that's also a key part of like our model and our approach for like year two.
Hmm.
So
That makes a
I
lot
think
of
also
sense.
too, it's interesting because yeah, I think
Hmm.
it's also interesting too. It's such a pivotal time to like be able to kind of engage that experience too, because I think coming out of college or coming out of high school, you kind of have like a fresh perspective, a lot of like passion that you kind of like you're wanting to apply in some areas. So I think it's also it can be a strong catalyst too to recognize like I think one the power of our communities, but also recognizing the power you have to like be a positive leader and a positive influence to kind of like continue that in whatever you may do career wise. So I think it's also pivotal in that way too.
Yeah. Sounds
So
like it helps like build values, like a core value system of community and service
exactly, yeah.
and
Hmm.
wonderful. Um, so we talked a little bit about the entry level projects, right?
Hmm.
The different mentoring opportunities and after school programs. What do you think are the top three skills you look for in a new hire for these
Hmm.
positions?
Yeah. So, in terms of top three skills for City or AmeriCorps members, I think the big thing, I think one, we don't require like that you have past experience like working with kids, but I think the big thing that we look for, just because you are working with kids so closely, is a passion and interest at least working with youth. And of course, you'll come into experience with more skills if you have that experience, but it's not like a requirement. But I think that's definitely something we like look for. I think also too, past experiences working in teams, especially because like say you're so like team focused. And I'd also add to that too, like leadership experiences as well. And I think leadership experience can be very like loosely defined, just because I think it's more of a verb and less of like a position necessarily. So I think for me, I see it as something that you commit yourself to. So if you've been in a club for like all 3 or 4 years of like your undergrad experience. I think that's also like a leadership experience, even if you didn't, even if you didn't have like a title or anything like that.
Mhm.
Um, and lastly, I would say, I know I'd add to that too. I think having just community experience is also just a beneficial part of that too, especially if that position is in the community. That's also a big plus. Um, and lastly, I would say it's like having a strong like self awareness of your identity is just because we are, working in such diverse communities. I think recognizing and being able to unpack like who you are, recognizing your power, your privilege, is kind of like what you may be, which of those identities maybe you may be bringing to like the spaces you're kind of in is kind of a big like key, just because we are so community centered, working so closely with our students and working, and we may, and folks like maybe working in communities that they um that are kind of like new to them. Like a lot of people like relocate to serve in new cities, so that's also a big thing too. um so yeah.
Oh, that sounds really helpful. I think that specifically the idea of leadership, community service, and self awareness, like kind of all go together. And
Yeah.
I think that self awareness is probably one of the biggest keys that you can take away into any service industry working with the public. And I appreciate that you put that out there
Yeah.
for us students, you know, something we could all be working towards. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, I think, yeah, honestly, I feel like reflection and just like self-awareness is such an underrated like soft skill. But I think it's such an important thing, especially in like the nonprofit industry and community-based like
Mhm.
service too, especially community-based work. So
So let's say someone gets hired, right?
yeah.
Um, what is one of the first things that they're going to be doing?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. So I mean your first month is really focused on training. So the first month, well, before that, you'd have like your registration day where we kind of like get you ready to like serve for the year. A lot of paperwork that we do, team building and that kind of thing. And then from there, we kind of move into what we call BTA, so Basic Training Academy. So a lot of that, in that space, you gain a lot of skills that'll kind of like help you throughout the year. So a lot of, how to tutor math, how to, offer social and emotional support to students that we're kind of serving, how to build rapport and that kind of thing. And also a lot of team building too. Like I said, like City are super like team focused, and so during that first month, you also get to know the school team that you'll be working with for the year. So at the school that you're serving in, you're there with a team of other people, so usually between 8 to 12 people, and so we kind of like work on placing the teams, or work on organizing the teams that first month really, and so also a big focus is also like team building for that first month. Um, and then we also some opportunities for you to kind of like work with students initially too, just to kind of like apply some of the skills you learned in BTA.
Mhm.
Do like summer camps that may be happening. Like I know locally in Seattle, we there's a week where we do like work in like summer camps. So yeah, that's really the first month, and I think a lot of it, that training is also ongoing too. I think that's the first like few months are kind of like focused on that, but we do also have ongoing trainings too that we have like monthly. So we call them L&D days, or learning and development days, and so that like learning and that knowledge will continue on throughout the year too. But that's kind of like the first like taste of it that you have before you jump
Okay.
in.
It sounds like a big investment.
It is, yeah.
Sounds like a lot of support too. Yeah, I mean, I know
Yeah.
that, yeah, hiring people, yeah, it's stressful, it's expensive, you have to get everyone up to
Mhm.
speed, and I know it
Yeah.
makes me feel more confident about my job if I can, at least have the opportunity to get to know my cohort and the process before just getting thrown into it, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so
Yeah, city here, there's no shortage of like team building. Like we're all about
yeah.
that. Building that camaraderie.
Yeah,
So that's, yeah, definitely like a big focus of like the first month especially too, like I said.
um, um, so I just have a couple more things I kind of
Yeah.
am curious about, like, maybe your local culture and your local office
Mhm.
and, what that looks like for you and how it feels and things of that
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah, City Year is a super, and I think the Seattle office specifically, shout out to them. There's such a cool, like fresh energy to it. Like I think all the staff are super passionate about the work. Um, and I think they show up as them full selves. Like I think what I appreciate about what I appreciate about City Year is just how people are so welcoming of people as they kind of are. Like there's no like front that you have to put up. You can just like be yourself, show up as you are, and bring that fully into the work, which I really appreciate. Um, Especially the core, I think especially, like, they bring such a cool energy, like, so there's about, like, 85 core members serving in Seattle currently, and
Wow.
so I think especially that's especially something that's, like, unique about City Year 2 is just kind of how just that young, fresh energy and that young, fresh perspective that they kind of have coming into City Year 2 that they kind of bring with them is super awesome. Um, I'd also say like Sadir is super supportive too. Like I've kind of mentioned, I think the people are so incredible and people are so supportive of each other, always looking out for each other. Um, it's such an inspiring environment too. Like I think like people really bring their passions to the work. Like it's just so awesome to see. I don't know.
Mhm.
The people are incredible. The people are I think are the one thing that I really like love about Sadir is just like there's a big focus on that, I would say.
What I'm hearing
Um
is authentic community leadership. That's what I'm
exactly, yeah.
hearing, you know?
Authentic community leadership, yes, I love that.
Yes, yeah. I don't think
Yes.
that you can be a great leader without really showing up for yourself and who you are and participating, and it sounds like
Yeah.
the year does a great job at cultivating that and collecting people who
Yes.
already have that naturally.
Yes.
So,
I love
great.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already naturally in you, but I think a lot of it's just about just kind of, like, recognizing that power, helping to bring that out and giving you that
Mhm.
agency to kind of explore that,
Yeah,
so
great.
and
Well,
harness it.
one last question, is that what kind of advice would you have for graduating seniors who are interested in applying for sixth year?
Yeah, yes. I mean, go for it.
Just do it.
Uh,
That's what Marcus
yeah,
says,
just
just
do
do
it.
it.
Yeah, that's my advice. But yeah, I mean, I think with City Year, like I kind of like said earlier, like I think so many, even though it is like kind of like more education focused, I think anyone from any like background can like find value in the experience, both in the skills that you gain throughout the year too, but also in the impact you're able to make. Like I think you're able to learn so much from our students and from the communities that we're serving. Like I think that's kind of the big focus I have too. Is just kind of, or one of the big things I kind of like focus on too is just kind of like you're learning throughout the year is super reciprocal. Like you're of course like offering your support as a tutor and mentor, but you're also kind of like gaining perspectives and gaining like knowledge from the students we're serving in, the communities that we're serving in as well. And I think that's such a unique opportunity to be able to do, especially as a new like grad. Like I think you can't really get that at any point in your life. Like take a year to really like explore and delve into that. Um, and also I think like going back to the whole like piece, I think some people may not pursue certain opportunities because of they may seem like niche or they may seem like not related to their academics or their what they study or that kind of thing. But I always encourage folks to kind of like take the opportunity and time to explore because you never know like where that opportunity may take you. Like I think going back to my experience, I think a lot of like where I got to, like I said, I never thought I'd be a recruiter, but a lot of like where I got to was because I was going to explore and because I was going to kind of like, harness my passions and recognize and think about like how do I want to like apply and like use these? How do I want to find them in my work? And I think it's been really cool to kind of see them just like manifest in ways that feel like authentic and genuine to like me. So it's cool to like reflect and look back on just like kind of how I've gotten to where I am today because of that. Um, I think a bonus thing I'll throw in too. Sorry, I'm dropping a lot of
I
advice right
love
now,
bonus,
but
yeah.
I think
Bring it
I think
on.
one thing I'd add too is just that networking is a big piece. I think networking can be such a scary thing for people, but I think um, a lot of like where I've gotten to today was because a lot of people who believed in me and just like my keeping in contact with them. Like my um, supervisor that I had when I was in AmeriCorps, Christine, super incredible. She's been one of my biggest supporters for my career, like throughout like the last oh my gosh, I think how long has it been? Since like 10 years maybe.
Wow.
Little I can't remember. Well, I graduated in 2012, so it's still under, I think. But she's been such an incredible like positive influence for me and just like a positive support. Also my colleagues at Sam have been super supportive to Art Museum. Um, and also the people who I meet in City Year too, like my campus partners, they're also like a part of my network just because I see them and I work with them so closely. like folks at the UO who I met on campus as well. So I think just recognizing that you have such an incredible network of people behind you, and I think they're willing to like help you, especially in like the nonprofit field. I think it's such an awesome tight knit community, and people like want to be able to help you and support you, just because it
Mhm.
is so like heart centered our work.
Yeah.
Um, so don't be afraid to kind of like call on your network or just like kind of reach out to people.
Mm. So what I'm hearing is that if I'm taking this whole entire interview and summing up the 3 big lessons from Marcus, they would
Yes.
be self-aware, know how you interact with the world and how, what's important and how it affects
Yes.
what you wanna do, and, you know, be be, uh, be authentic, be who you are, because that's
Yes.
how you're gonna be able to
Yeah.
be self-aware and participate, and
Exactly. Yeah.
be open to opportunities and people and networking, and all of this stuff sounds right up a graduating senior's alley, not that it's easy, but I think that that's something that everyone could take away from, and it sounds like
Yeah.
it's something everyone could gain from City Year. So
Yes.
we appreciate that.
Thank
If
you.
students wants to connect with you about these opportunities, are you open to them connecting with you on Handshake or through email?
Yeah, I'm on Handshake, and also people can send me an email as well. Um, and we're on all the socials too. City Year, you can find us on like everything, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, our website too, of course, LinkedIn, etc.
Great, wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Career Center is always open to any students that might need help, kind of transitioning into their first career opportunity or kind of setting up informational interviews like this. Um, I know that we have direct connections to people like you, Marcus, and I hope that the students who are watching this take advantage of this opportunity. So,
Thank
um,
you.
yeah, thank you.